Hello and welcome to this latest class, What's Possible When You Clean Up Your Mindset. Welcome, I'm Dr. Joanne Tully. This is a little bit about my story. I'll keep it really brief here, but I am a retired chiropractor. A few years ago, I learned to heal myself from Lyme disease, and surprisingly, it was all about my thoughts and beliefs and cleaning up my anger and resentment and that kind of thing. So now I am a mind-body doctor and a mindset coach. I've created an online program to teach what I've learned to others, and it's called Learn to Heal Yourself. So welcome. You are in the right place if you haven't been able to make the changes in your life that you want. You're in the right place if no matter what you do, you get the same crappy results. And you're in the right place if you have been wondering if it is really true that you can use your mindset to change aspects of your life. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's possible? Is this possible? And really, anything is possible. You just gotta learn some new things. You've got to learn how the mind works, how energy works, and then hopefully that will allow you to see that more things are possible than you originally believed. Okay, so what you're going to learn today. We're going to go over some mindset basics, and we're going to talk about what it means to clean up your mindset, what's possible when you clean up your mindset, and how do you actually make changes to your mindset. And then we'll do a wrap up. Okay, I love this quote from A Course in Miracles, workbook lesson number 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. And this is one of my go-tos because when you do this work, you're going to think that you're upset or you've lost your cool because somebody said something to you or did something to you, but it's not really why you are upset. And when you can get to the real reason why you're upset, that's where you have the power to clean things up. So, A Course in Miracles is a big book. There's a workbook lesson section in the middle. There's a workbook lesson for every day of the year, and it teaches you how to stop listening to your ego, basically. So, let's carry on here. Okay, so mindset basics. Mindset basics, just in a nutshell, it's becoming aware. So paying attention, becoming aware of your thoughts. And thoughts are just energy. And quantum physics has taught us that thoughts are the most powerful form of energy. And becoming aware of your behaviors, like those knee-jerk responses that you have, those behaviors that you do without even thinking. Got to start becoming aware of those because they will give you clues to what you need to clean up within your mind. And becoming aware of your emotions. A lot of us just think that we don't have any control over our emotions, that life is happening to us so that we're left with these emotions, but we don't really have any control over them. But that is really not the case at all. It's what we grow up believing, but it is not the case. And when you become aware of your emotions, that's part of the feedback loop where, at first you're not really going to recognize your thoughts and behaviors, but if you can start to recognize emotions that you don't like, then you know that there's a thought that you can clean up or a belief that you can clean up in your mind. So becoming aware of all of these things. And within Mindset Basics, I want to just go over your two minds. So here we've got a picture of an iceberg, and we're talking about the conscious mind versus the unconscious mind. And the iceberg represents both of these. So the tip of the iceberg that's showing above the surface level of the water, think of that as your conscious mind. It's the smaller portion of your mind. And then the unconscious mind is everything else, the bigger surface that's underneath the level of the water. So let's break these two down even more. So your conscious mind is when you are aware. When you're aware of what you're thinking, what you're doing, you are in your conscious mind. It's where your goals and desires are. So, like every first of the year, we usually make some kind of New Year's goal. I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to exercise more. I want to clean up my mindset, whatever it is. So our goals and desires are in our conscious mind. It's where we have our logical, critical thinking. And pay attention to this one. Your conscious mind is in control only 5 to 10% of the time, so not much at all. So we get distracted with so many other things, and then we go into our unconscious mind where we have our knee-jerk responses. So conscious mind, it's where we're aware and it's only in control 5 to 10% of the time. Your unconscious mind, that's what you are currently unaware of. It's your learned behaviors and it's automatic body functions. So the automatic body functions, like I don't need to remind my heart to pump blood. I don't need to remind my body to take a breath, so my lungs have some air. Those are automatic body functions. And learned behaviors, these are things like, you practice driving a car, you practice riding a bike, and pretty soon you just know how to do it. You don't really have to be thinking about what you're doing. You don't have to wake up every morning and relearn how to get dressed, how to eat, how to bathe, those kinds of things. So they're just learned automatic behaviors. And one example I usually give too is many of us have driven from point A to point B, but we weren't really paying attention. We were distracted with talking to someone or maybe messing with the radio or eating. So we don't really remember getting from point A to point B, but somehow we got there. That's your unconscious mind. You kind of go asleep at the wheel. You're on automatic pilot. That's what we're talking about here. And also in your unconscious mind are where you bury your emotions. So you don't know what you're holding on to because you're just not paying attention to it. It's where our beliefs and attitudes are housed as well. And our beliefs and attitudes aren't necessarily true. They're just what we have kept thinking over and over again, that they become our beliefs, they become our attitudes. So it's up to us to look at them and question whether or not they really are true or not. And look at this one. Your unconscious mind is in control 90 to 95% of the time. That's huge. It's what's running like a software program in the back of your mind. It's in control. So we really have to pay attention to what we've tucked away and stored in here that we're currently not aware of. Okay, think of it this way too. If you've got a problem and you want to solve it, one of the things that you have to look at here is the difference energetically between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind, where your goals are, your desires are, your passion are, they have to be energetically in line with what you have in your unconscious mind for beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors. And I've got a whole nother class that I'm going to put together called How Your Mind Works. I'm going to go through a very, very specific example of this. But basically, these two minds, your two minds, must energetically match in order to solve your problems and achieve your goals. So one quick example, I have a lot of people tell me that their goal is, I want to be healthy. So that's a goal that's in their conscious mind. But yet tucked away in their unconscious mind, there are beliefs and thoughts and patterns on why they can't be healthy. Like, because just they have an identity, like I'm sick, I'm in pain, I have this disease process, or I can't be healthy because my significant other might leave me, or something like that, which that really does happen to people. So energetically, what your conscious mind is wanting to solve, what your goals are, need to energetically match with what's in your unconscious mind, or nothing changes. And again, in another class, I'm going to go through this very specifically, but hopefully that makes enough sense to just kind of scratch the surface here. So let's move on to another example here of who you might be listening to. This is all part of basics of mindset. So think of, on your shoulder, you've got an angel on one side and a devil on the other side. And so the angel is your true self and the devil is your ego self. And we usually listen to our ego self until we become aware, and then we shift into listening to our true self. So let's dive into the difference here. Your true self is who we truly are, deep down inside, who we truly are. And another term for it would be love. So it's the energy of love. It's whatever love means to you, this all-encompassing love. And it can be named a lot of different things. So for example, we could use words like God, Jesus, Christ, Buddha, Creator, Source. And if you don't believe in God, you could just call this grandma, as long as grandma means love to you. So the words don't really matter. And a lot of people get tripped up over these words because of how we grew up. There are certain situations where we became afraid of God, or thought that God had abandoned us, or whatever. The adults around us were squabbling about different religions. And this isn't a religion. This is just the energy of love versus the energy of fear. So don't let words trip you up. I tend to use God a lot, but change that out, swap that word out with something else that means more to you, that means love, and then you're good to go. So your true self is quiet, it's calm, it's peaceful. Your true self is joyful and happy. Your true self is it's like your factory setting. Your natural state of being is to be happy and healthy. So if you're anything but, you've been listening to your ego. So your true self is joyful, happy, and eternal spirit. So you're just energy. Your true self is only energy. And that within that realm of just that energy, that's where we can connect, where we're all the same, where, we have guidance, we can connect in, we know what, we can feel, read other people's energies, and it's where we are connecting because we're all one. We come from the same energy or spirit. So think of your true self in terms of those types of things. Now, your ego self is 180 degrees different than your true self. So true self, who we really are. Your ego self is your made up self. Like your identity. It can even be like, okay, I'm male or female, mother, father, daughter, son, sister, brother. I'm sick. I'm not healthy. I have this disease. I'm not worthy. I'm, a big hot mess. So your ego self, you can make up anything about yourself. And a lot of times when we're kids, we start to believe what other people tell us about ourselves too, in this made-up ego self realm. So ego, again, is completely different. So the opposite of love would be fear and sin and guilt. And when we talk about sin in A Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles defines sin as just a mistake. It's a mistake in our thoughts that needs to be corrected. It's not some horrible thing that we did that we need to be punished, but the ego wants you to think that you did something wrong and that you need to be punished. And then you're in fear of this punishment. You're so fearful. You become fearful of God and God's punishment, God's wrath, that you start to punish yourself first and foremost. So this is just really, really messed up, but a lot of religions have us believing this so that we stay within that religious realm, and we need to believe in God and do certain things and act certain ways just to please God. But it's backwards. So if you're in a religion that that has done this, maybe just take the parts of your religion that speak to love and just focus on those aspects, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so ego self then is everything opposite of love. So anti-God, anti-Christ, miscreator. Your ego self has you feeling agitated, irritated, frustrated, unhappy, miserable. And then your ego self can be thought of as your body. So if you're identifying too much with your body and your made up self, your identity of your ego, you are going to have a lot of problems, things that make you unhappy, miserable, agitated, irritated, frustrated, all those kinds of things. So it's all about realizing that and stop listening to your ego little by little. So hopefully that makes sense. In my online classes, I go over this in more detail, but again, we're just scratching the surface here. So who are you listening to? Most people listen to their ego self. Your ego speaks first and loudest. It's like a little toddler yelling in your ear. And your true self is more of a whisper. It's quiet. So that's another difference there. Okay, so cleaning up your mindset. There are 3 basic steps. The first step is becoming aware of your ego stuff. So becoming aware of the negativity, the fear, the made-up identity, the complaining, the blaming, the excuses, and you're feeling depressed or feeling anxious, having panic attacks. That's all ego stuff. Feeling physical symptoms that you don't like, that's all ego stuff. Life circumstances that you don't like, that's all ego stuff. So paying attention, these negative things in your life are only showing themselves so that you can realize, oh, I've been listening to my ego, I can clean that up, and then I will have a different outcome or a different experience. So step 1 of cleaning up your mindset is just to become aware of the ego stuff. Step number 2, become aware of your limiting beliefs. And so again, these limiting beliefs, they are things that sabotage you. They box you in. They're like roadblocks. They close you off to what you really want. They are beliefs, negative beliefs that you think are true, but they're really not. So let's break this down. So it all begins with negative thoughts. And these negative thoughts, if you think them over and over long enough, they become beliefs. And these beliefs become limiting beliefs because they're negative, they hold you back, and they get stored in your unconscious mind and you forget about them. But they run the show and they play out in all sorts of different aspects of your life, whether it's your life circumstances or physical symptoms. And again, in another class, How Your Mind Works, I go through an example of this in a lot more detail. But some common examples of limiting beliefs would be things like, nothing ever works out for me. This won't work for me. I'm not even going to get started because this stuff just doesn't work. It's not going to work for me. Or, I don't matter. I'm not important. Or, no one ever helps me. I'm all alone. No one loves me. Another one would be, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not good enough. So even as far as we've gone here, we all have 2 to 4 limiting beliefs that kind of run the show. And so within my online membership, Learn to Heal Yourself, we go over some of these things right away. There's a self-reflection sheet to just kind of like see what you resonate with, and it'll help you start to drill things down. So I still work on I'm not good enough and no one ever helps me. Those are some of my big ones. And so a lot of scenarios play out in my life where that's all that's going on. And I just go back to that limiting belief and like, oh, no, that's not true. Kind of let it go, smooth everything out. But these trip up everybody. Some more examples of common limiting beliefs. I can't do anything right. I'm a mistake. I can't afford it. I don't have any money. That blocks us with our finances. Or how many people have a limiting belief like I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy. Those are pretty popular. Okay, so cleaning up your mindset. Step 1, review here. Becoming aware of the ego stuff. So remember the fear, the negativity, the made-up identity, or just focusing on your body. First, you have to become aware of what, the stuff that your ego has your ego sells you a bill of goods. It's becoming aware of that. Step number 2, becoming aware of your limiting beliefs, those things that block you in. And then step number 3 is unlearning or letting go of all of these things that you become aware of as you become aware of them. So this is it in a nutshell. Becoming aware of the ego stuff, becoming aware of your limiting beliefs, and then unlearning them or letting them go. So it's a little bit of a process, but it's not difficult. It's just different. So what's possible? This whole class, what's possible when you clean up your mindset? basically anything and all things are possible. It just depends on what do you want. Think of yourself as a creator. You came here to create. You came here to have some experiences. So what do you want? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? It's up to you, and anything and everything is possible. So think about your goals, your desires, your outcomes. You have to spend some time figuring out what you want. Most of the time, we learn a bunch of junk. We learn about a bunch of fear and some ego stuff, and we have a bunch of limiting beliefs, and we never even consider what we really want because we're so focused on what we don't want. So let's break this down. Thoughts, which is just energy, thoughts that we think over and over become beliefs, and these beliefs get stored in our unconscious mind. Like we're not aware of them. They become our knee-jerk responses. They just play out in all sorts of different ways in our life. So these beliefs that are stored in the unconscious mind then dictate our actions and behaviors, which then gives us our results or our outcome. And so if you want to make any changes, what your ego wants you to do is try to keep making changes at the end in the results and the outcome. So if you're sick, let's do a different treatment. Let's take a different pill. If you want a different job because people are being mean to you at this current job, just go get a different job. But that doesn't change your actions or behaviors because you've got limiting beliefs stored in your unconscious mind based on crappy thoughts. So you're not going to have a different result or outcome until you go backwards here and get into your unconscious mind to look at those beliefs, look at your thoughts, and change those. So anything's possible. The work that you need to do is go backwards, drill it down, drill it back to your thoughts. So A Course in Miracles teaches that the cause and effect. Cause is your thought. Everything begins with your thought. Thought is energy. And then you get certain effects or outcomes based on your thoughts. And that's completely backwards from how we learn that things go. We learn from the ego that things are done to us and that we don't really have any control. And when it feels like we don't really have any control, we want to control other things. So it's all backwards. So if you can get to the thought, you change your thoughts, change your outcome. And Wayne Dyer even has a whole book on this. So anything and everything is possible, but you're not going to make any changes until you get to your thoughts and change them. Okay, so can you focus on what you want? Can you focus on your goals, your desires, what you want? Not what you don't want, because it's easy to focus on what you don't want. Can you focus on what you want? Yes, absolutely. But will you? Will you make an effort to focus on what you want? It takes a little bit of effort. It takes, 10 to 15 minutes a day. It's deciding that it's important to get control of your life and get your happiness back, get your health back. You have to do a little bit of work because you've been allowing the ego to be in charge. It's like you're driving a car, but you got in the back seat and you're letting your ego just do whatever it wants. And you're just in the back seat allowing it, thinking that you have no say in it. You do have a say. You just have to know what to do. So get back in the driver's seat and focus on what you want and clean up your thoughts. Do you believe you can have anything that you want? Belief in yourself and belief in this process takes a little bit of practice. You've got to do the work, and it's a gradual thing. But right now, if there's something that you want, a goal or desire, ask yourself, do you believe you can have it? If yes, if you believe you can have it, then carry on with what you're doing. If you don't yet believe you can have whatever you want, then you look for the limiting belief in your unconscious mind that has been blocking you from moving forward, because your actions and behaviors won't change until the limiting belief is changed. This is big here. So you won't believe you can have or do anything until you change the limiting belief. So you can do it, it's just different work than what you've been doing. So are you willing to spend some time every day looking at your thoughts? Within A Course in Miracles, they call this working on your forgiveness lessons. Every single day, there'll be something that irritates you, agitates you, just gets in your face a little bit. Some days it's going to feel like a big deal, and other days it's going to feel like no big deal. But that's how you know you've got something to clean up. Something's in your face. It's like an emotional charge. And within my Learn to Heal Yourself membership, there's an emotional charge worksheet to help you, drill it down. So every day, I still work on my forgiveness lessons every single day. It's so very important. It's how you keep making progress, cleaning up your mindset and getting to the things that you want out of life. So again, it's focusing on what you want and what you don't want. Subtle, but a big difference. Most of us, without realizing it, we've been focused on our problems, the icky stuff. You think that you've got to solve it. You let your ego try to solve it, but your ego makes a mess out of everything. So you've got to get lined up with love and with your true, authentic self, and then the solution comes to you and you just move in that direction. And it also is paying attention when things you don't like show up in your life. So that's what you need to work on. You don't go looking for problems that aren't there and trying to clean up a bunch of stuff. It's just paying attention. And on any particular day, on that given day, if something shows up that you don't like, you have a little bit of work to do. And so you go after that and not anything else. So I think Tony Robbins said this, but it's pretty powerful. What we can do is amazing. We can do amazing things. Think of all the technology that's out there. It's what we can do is amazing. What we are willing to do is often mediocre. We allow things to just be crappy because we don't think we have any say. We don't think we can make any change. And then our ego mind is filling our mind completely with all this negative mental chatter and all these thoughts of like, this won't work for you, and who are you to do this work, and this isn't, you're going to fail, and you're not good enough to do this, blah, 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 blah. Stop listening to that stuff. You absolutely can do it. You just have to do something different. Knowing what to do is not enough. So reading a book is not enough. You actually have to spend some time becoming aware of your thoughts, actively seeing the difference. When am I listening to my ego? When am I listening to love? And, what are these limiting beliefs really true? Is it really true that I'm not good enough? Is that really true? So reading books is not enough. Knowing logically what to do is not enough. You actually have to do something. So you must do something different than what you've done before. So how do you make these changes? Learning to quiet your mind or meditation is one very powerful way. It's one of the things that everyone needs to learn how to do. And a lot of people's knee-jerk responses with, well, I can't meditate. Or I've tried, I just can't quiet my mind. I can't. Those are just limiting beliefs that have been keeping you stuck. They did for me as well too. And I distinctly remember the day that I made a decision, a very powerful decision in my life about meditation. And it was like, you know what? I have a lot of burning questions that I have. I need to talk to God. I need to communicate with God. I'm going to learn how to meditate. I'm just going to do it. And I'll be damned, it worked. I was immediately able to meditate or quiet my mind enough to where I had that communication. I could listen for what was going to help me. And so even within my course, Learn to Heal Yourself, I give examples of my meditations that have helped me, but I also say that I want you to make them your own. Do what feels best for you. I don't care if you're sitting, laying down, walking in nature, whatever. You're going to get some communication when you're in this zone, in this space of, connected with love or with your true authentic self, you'll get your own guidance. That's what I teach you, is you get your own guidance. So lots of different ways to meditate, but you're going to have to learn to quiet your mind. Remember, because your true authentic self or love whispers in your ear. the ego mind, or the ego portion of yourself, is going to yell, and it's going to throw a temper tantrum, and it's going to speak first. So you have to learn to quiet your mind. You learn from different resources too. So my big go-tos for this kind of work is A Course in Miracles, or ACIM, Law of Attraction, or Abraham Hicks kind of stuff, and The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. So Jack Canfield is also the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And these are just really, really great resources. In my Learn to Heal Yourself online membership program, the bulk of my resources that I teach from are from A Course in Miracles, and then I sprinkle in some Law of Attraction and the Success Principles. So there's a ton of information. Basically, I'm drawing from a bunch of resources and like drilling everything down for you so that you can understand it. And then from there, with a new understanding, you go out and gain even deeper understanding yourself by doing the work. And how to make changes, learn from others. What anyone else that has done this work, what are they doing every day that you can copy? So I'm giving you ideas of what's worked for me. I'm teaching you in my membership what's worked for me, but I also sprinkle that in and talk about other authors, other lecturers, because it's important to branch out and talk to others and listen to others, because your guidance is going to come in a lot of different forms, and what you need to hear on any given day can be in so many different places. So learn from resources, learn from others, and then do the work. You have to work on yourself. All it takes is 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes a day. If you want to work longer on it, great. But it doesn't take long. It's just you have to be willing to do something different. And being willing to examine and change your thoughts, really, it's not that big a deal. Your ego wants you to make it seem like it's a huge deal, but it's really not. It's freedom when you do this work. Your ego wants you to think it's so scary and what you're going to find is so horrible that you better not even look. So your ego will help you to shut it down before you even get started. That's just the ego. So when you examine your thoughts and change your thoughts, it's never horrible and scary. It's beautiful. It's life-changing. It's transformation. It's freedom. So do the work. Okay, and it's 180 degrees different, but it's not difficult. So again, love is 180 degrees different than fear. And your ego wants you to believe that this is too difficult, again, too scary, too difficult, but it's not. It's different, but it's not difficult. It's easy once you get the ball rolling. Okay, so wrap up. We all have issues. We all have problems. I've done so much of this work, but I still have things that come up. It's just I know what to do about them now. So, and I will say too that where I used to be so negative, my negative Nelly in my head just would not shut up. I was miserable, unhappy. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends, and now I know why, because now that I've cleaned all that stuff up, I see other people who are miserable like I used to be, and they're draining. It's heavy lifting, and I know that I used to be like that, but I have changed so much that this is why I do this work. I want people to have the breakthroughs that I have had, because my life is so much better now. It's never too late. We all have issues and problems, but you absolutely can get beyond them. And problems are not solved by focusing on them. So if you keep looking at your problem, if you keep, your ego wants to solve the problem for you, and your ego can't solve the problem. Your ego wants you to focus on it. Hey, try this, try that, try that. None of those things will work. You've got to shift back into this energy of love, this space of love. that's when your true solutions show up. And then you can focus on your solutions, and then your problems just all smooth out and fade away. So solutions are found by cleaning up your thoughts, and know that roadblocks will pop up, and these are just your limiting beliefs and your fears. So when you start to head in the direction of your solutions and your goals and your desires, it'll feel like some doors are closing. Again, these roadblocks, they're just reminders of things that you need to clean up in your mind. If they didn't pop up, you'd never know there was something there to clean up. So becoming aware of these limiting beliefs, acknowledging them as they pop up, and then look for the underlying belief so you can evaluate it and reverse it. And then it just smooths everything out. Like the next day, or even in a few hours, everything is back on track again. And when you actually do this, and so Jack Canfield would say, just kind of lean into these roadblocks. And it is so true. The energy frees up within a few hours or the next day when you just lean into it and find that limiting belief and evaluate it and reverse it. So it's freeing. It's absolutely freeing. Okay, so here's a list of things to stop doing when we're talking about mindset and what's possible when you clean up your mindset. To help you along, things to stop doing: stop blaming, stop complaining, stop making excuses. This is all ego stuff. But do pay attention when you catch yourself doing these things. Pay attention, write down the words or phrases that the negative self-chatter and all this. Write down the words and phrases, because that will give you clues to your limiting beliefs. It'll help you figure out what your limiting beliefs are. And then number 2, stop the negative self-talk, that negative Nelly in your head. Again, whatever the theme is that you're going over and over in your head, write down a few of the words or phrases, and that'll help bring you back to the limiting belief. And 3, stop focusing on what you don't want. So these are just super, super powerful things to start paying attention to and stop doing them. Okay. A list of what to do, what to focus on is 1, decide what you want. Then make a list of what you want. So your goals and your desires. Make a list, sit down. What do I want? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? Make a list of 30 things. The longer the list, it forces you to really dream a little bit. And when you've been in the thick of not feeling good, feeling pain, suffering, and just in a funk, you stop thinking about what you want. You're so consumed with what you don't want that you forget what it is to be happy. You forget what it is to dream and make goals and things like that. So sit down and make yourself a list. Review that list 1 to 3 times a day. Because remember, what gets stored in your unconscious mind takes practice to get there. So if you want to overwrite those old programs, you have to review new programs. So review your list and then visualize what you want. Daydream a little bit. Even if, like I've got a 5-day healthy mind challenge where we talk a lot about your happy place. Go to your happy place. Whatever makes you feel happy, relaxed. Sometimes you can get into that good feeling space by thinking about kids or grandkids or pets or just, favorite vacation, playing an instrument, listening to music, those kinds of things. But start playing around with visualizing and daydreaming about what you want and what makes you feel good. And learn to meditate. And again, if you need help with that, there's all sorts of groups and people doing this. I teach a little bit in some different ways to do this in my Learn to Heal Yourself program. And just the first step is deciding that you can do it. And then get more training and information, whether that's from me or from other people. I teach you how to do all this in my Learn to Heal Yourself online membership program, but get training and information from somewhere and start doing the work. Okay, thank you for your attention. And if you are interested in learning how to use your mind to solve all your problems, consider joining my Learn to Heal Yourself online membership program. It's set up so that you just pay once a month, you try it out for a month. If it's not for you, you just cancel before the next renewal. It's super affordable. I keep it very, very affordable so that everyone can do this work. And there's so much content in there. You just stay in it as long as it's benefiting you. And I make myself available. It's always open. You just head over to my website and take a look at it. But if you want to do this, I encourage you to sign up. If not, that's fine too. We'll just keep going through some of this free stuff, and hopefully you'll get a better idea of what it takes, what's possible when you clean up your mindset. So be looking for my other class that I'll have coming out of how the mind works. That'll even give you a better idea of how the mind works so that you can do this work even better. So thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in the next training.